meeting to order. If that's okay. Oh, Karen's just walking in. That's all right, we can do the pledge before Karen walks in. Off we go, okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're actually going to add our student showcase, which is on Project Lead the Way.
Project Lead the Way.
And you want us to move over there?
If you would, that would be great. Thank you.
Do you need us to move everything?
Should we move it? No, you can leave your thing there. Otherwise, you want to just go take a seat over on the side. That would be great.
I'm taking my camera to take a picture of you.
Thank you. I'll get this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as you know, last year, late in the year, Burgess secured a grant, was awarded a grant for Project Lead the Way. And we've talked at a number of meetings in which we're utilizing Erin Parker, our computer teacher, within the Project Lead the Way program. Beth Clark, our enrichment teacher, and Nadine Kevel, our health teacher, are each taking a component of Project Lead the Way and delivering different units to different grade levels. I'd like to turn it over to our teachers.
Thank you, everybody, for having us. We just put together a slideshow so we can show you some pictures of what the kids have been doing. We have a little surprise for you at the end. So this is a glimpse of Project Lead the Way here at Burgess for year one. And there's a module that's being taught at every grade level. So every single grade level has a different module. So all the kids in the schools for K-6 are being exposed. And Beth, you just handed out a description of the modules for everybody to look at it on your own time, and it explains a little bit more about what Project Lead the Way is. If you're not familiar with what it is, it's a grant that we received. It's a STEM curriculum that provides in curriculum for, I believe, pre-K all the way up to 12. So this is Burgess's first year doing it. And the modules that are being covered right now, the human body is being covered by Nadine. Animal adaptations is Nadine. Second grade, grids and games, that's computer programming, that's me. Stability and motion, Beth Clark. Forces and interaction, Beth is doing that. Infection detection is Nadine. And I'm doing the robotics and automation for grade 6. So something you're going to observe in all Project Lead the Way classes, besides the STEM curriculum and tying in with standards and things like that, is students are really engaged with hands-on activities. So every single day that you walk in, they're doing something with their hands. They're also working with groups. Every day they're working in cooperative groups. So it's not always, something that they're used to doing. And to me, it's an awesome opportunity for them to collaborate, communicate, problem solve, do critical and creative thinking. So it's happening every single day. They have these experiences. Something else that is different is students are empowered to kind of guide their own learning. They get to make lots of decisions on their own, figure things out, and we, the teachers, kind of take a step back. Yes, we're facilitating and we're guiding this, but we really let the kids kind of take the lead on their own learning. And Project Lead the Way is also known for something called APB instruction, which is activity, project, problem-based instruction. So something that we all do all the way from K to 6 is every module has 3 activities that builds skills and prior knowledge. They practice it in their project, and then they have a final problem, which is a real-world kind of a base problem. And we'll show you one of the real-world based problems at the end. And another focus that's the common thread through all of our rooms is the design process and the scientific inquiry. So this is just a little glimpse of our classrooms, just kind of going through it quick. And if anybody wants to stop and kind of
I'm just going to say just a couple things about a couple of the projects or the activities that you see. So
Yep. So these are, I'm not sure what.
Okay, this is grade 5. This is infection detection. What they're doing here is they are watching the slideshow on the immune system. And then what they will do is they will put that immune system on the body with a text box explaining each part of the immune system. Oh, that's Beth.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yes,
These
this,
two are Beth.
I'm doing 3rd and 4th grade, and what they're doing is they use these posters to help with the VEX kit, to find the different appropriate pieces from the VEX kit, and then they go up to the posters to make sure that it's the right piece. So they have to do a lot of problem solving. We don't pre-pick the pieces for them. They're given a sheet like that where they have to go and find a number of specific pieces.
The cool part too is when they get all the pieces, same thing with robotics, they have, every kid uses a tablet, and they have this like virtual 3D kind of direction thing where the kids have to scroll through and they can rotate this in 3-dimensional ways to figure out how to build these things, and they love it. They absolutely love
It's
it.
called Fusion 360, and it gives it, it virtually is like a blueprint, but a 3-dimensional blueprint.
So I'll kind of go a little bit quick through these.
And that's just a picture of the VEX kit that they open up in each engineering team.
Okay, I'll say something here. All right, so this is infection detection, grade 5. They start out the module with talking about germs and hand washing, and they use what is called a glow germ. They put it on their hands, they use a UV light, and then they look at it, and then they wash their hands and see how successful they were. They also, this was, I think, the first experiment, but then they also, in groups, and you'll see a picture, where they have to come up with their own experiment, like hand soap versus foam soap versus liquid soap kind of thing, and they have to work collaboratively with that, or assign a manager, and they have to come up with the experiment for the length of time washing the hands, cold water, hot water, etc. You'll see one of those.
So it looks like more VEX kits.
Right, 3rd and 4th grade.
Okay, that's you too.
Should I keep going? or-
Yeah, just keep going.
Just let me know.
And then they're, 4th grade, they're doing speed. We talk about potential and kinetic energy. And what's really important that I like about this program is it does encourage the students. They have to work together. I've had some students say, well, can I work by myself? I said, no, part of this is learning, to share ideas, to
And act like
cooperate.
scientists.
And act like scientists and engineers, so they have to work on a team, and they learn to compromise, which can be very difficult. But
How'd that work out?
I don't know, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's just me. Okay, I'll say something here. This is 1st grade, this is animal adaptation, the module. They start with, they have to work through experiments or with 4 different adaptations, camouflage, locomotion, how animals and plants obtain food, and also protection. So this is what it is. This is a butterfly, our butterfly garden, and they have solid butterflies and they have camouflage butterflies that match the butterfly garden, and they have to predict, and this is a launch log that all the modules have, they have to predict which butterfly, one-finger pickup, that they would be able to, the most of in 20 seconds. This child, obviously the solid ones would be easier to pick up than the ones that blend in. This child picked the solid butterflies 10 to 7 in 20 seconds. Same thing there.
Same thing. Keep going.
And as you can see, they're very engaged from the moment they come in, and they do have these lunch logs, which kind of act like their science notebook that they do have. They have science notebooks in their classroom, and we use the lunch log.
Your daughter's not.
There's your daughter.
Oh, my daughter. Oh, yeah, she's in there too.
Oh, well, mine must be.
Yours was right in
You
front.
can pause on this one. Yep. Some 6th graders. This is the robotics. This is them putting together their test fields, which you'll see in a minute. They're measuring through the math in there, made them measure area and perimeter. And this is a little bit more difficult to show, but 2nd grade is doing the Grids and Games unit, which is the computer programming. So Scratch is a free app that all the kids can put on their tablets. And it uses something called block-based programming, which is a really easy, creative, fun way for the kids to get exposed into what programming is. We start with unplugged activities where they have to actually, well, they were coding me. I was dressed up like the dog with the ears. I don't think I was in that picture at that time. But they had to program me with left and right directions and for getting from one point to the next. And once they got familiar with that, with just using directional cards, then we that was a segue into the actual interface itself. So this is what Scratch looks like when you open it up. It has tons of different characters and stages and scenes, and all these blocks do different things, and they learn what do they want each object to do, and they have to really focus on the sequence of it. And there's math really tied into that because there's grids, and they have to count how many squares over and where they want them to intersect and which one comes first, and does the order of them make a difference. So the actual final project for them, or the final problem, was for them to create a game. It had certain criteria. They had to have at least 2 controllers that control the main character. So this is 3. For this person's, the main character was the fairy. They had to have an obstacle, a moving obstacle to avoid. They had to have a target for their main character to try to get to. And then they had to actually control and send commands from the main character. What happens if the main character bumps into the obstacle? It goes to a game over page. What happens if the main character bumps into the target? It goes to the you win page. So they had to plan this all out with their partner, and they did something called pair programming, where they would take turns and they designed their own games. So some did it like basketball, controlling it up. They had to keep it away from the character Scratch. This is just a quick little one. The lighting isn't so great on this one, but you can see she did a maze. It couldn't bump into the edges. It was a cat and a mouse and to get to the cheese.
Oh, try again.
Yeah. This one was many obstacles. This was the extra challenge. This team they went above and beyond. And the fish had to make it to that top. You win! So that was something that they added, was the sound. So now we're going to move into the robotics and
I'm
automation.
just going to say one more thing first. With animal adaptation, what they have to work through, so this was food. They had to pretend that they were birds, and these were 3 different types of beaks. And they had to either pick up the marbles, the straw, or the toothpicks, and they were timed on that, and estimate which one, or predict which one would be the better beak for the food. This acted as food. And then the last thing I just want to mention is, so once they got through the 4 adaptations, they then had to pretend that they were a world traveler. And they were assigned either the Sahara, the Arctic, the rainforest, and Savannah. So then they have a body that's similar to this, and they have to put on this everything they would need to go to that environment. Whether it's sunscreen, whether it's whatever. And so at the end, so that was the problem. That was the project. The problem is now our traveler needs a shoe. So based on all the adaptations that they put with their traveler, based on where they were going, they had to design a shoe. So they're given the shoe, they're given various materials, they can bring in things too. This one, if you're looking at it, what might you think they're going to? The desert. Okay, so it's a cactus. They have, this is their camouflage, the sand. I asked why they put this on the bottom of the shoe, and they said it was to keep so their foot wouldn't get hot. This one, they're going to the rainforest. These are birds, trees. I did supply them with different fabric that would kind of match their environment. I didn't tell them that's the rainforest, but they picked out the fabric. And then this one, they were going to the Arctic. That's their camouflage. It also serves as a warm coat. And also, I believe they told me that they were cross-country skiing, so these are the poles. Okay.
So sweet. Thank you. Pardon me? Nope. So we'll kind of end this with the robotics and automation module that we did. We have a 6th grade guest speaker that has joined us. I don't know if everybody knows Fenton.
Hi, Fenton.
This is Fenton Black, and he has volunteered to come and represent the 6th grade module. And what he is going to talk about is how this module is based on a real-world problem. So the robotics and automation module, this is the real-world problem that it revolves all around. He'll also talk about the different criteria and constraints for the problem that all the teams in the class will have to try to solve. They're not done with it yet, so he's kind of getting a glimpse of where we're going. They're still in the design phase, and he's going to talk a little bit about the design process, and then he has some things to show you. So do you want to read? You want to do the arrow?
Sure. The real-world problem our module is based on. In 2011, there was a tsunami in Fukushima, Japan. It destroyed a nuclear power plant. Toxic material was released into the environment. It was too dangerous for humans. Scientists and engineers had to design robots to help clean it up.
So that gives the base, the purpose for why the kids are creating these robotic vehicles.
The final task. Create a robotic vehicle with a working color sensor. It must be able to remove 5 hazardous waste blocks into a collection zone in 2 minutes or less. All red zones in water areas must be avoided. If the vehicle or block touches a water or red zone, it must go back to the start line. Timer does not stop. Creating a field site. Each team has to create a field site to test their robotic vehicle on. It cannot be larger than 25 square feet. Water must take up 1/3 of the site. The perimeter of the site must be red. The design process. Step 1. Ask, what's the problem? Identify the criteria and constraints. Step 2. Explore. Brainstorm possible solutions. Step 3. Model. Choose a team solution and build it. Step 4. Evaluate. Test it. Does it meet criteria and constraints? Step 5. Explain. How can we improve our design?
So this is what they're working on right now. They're in that, they do the design process no matter what activity they're doing. There's 5 different activities. They do it at every activity, but they're really doing it now towards the end. So we have something to show you. Want to bring this one out? Okay. Yeah. Do you want to grab that yellow paper, please? Go right into the middle here. Put it right up on the table. Oh, this looks fine. Let's show them. So, you want to tell them what this is?
Well, this is the original chassis, but we built at the start just to really build the base, because we're not going to be taking this apart until the very end.
And what does it have on it?
It has a color sensor, a touch LED. It has 2 smart motors.
Mm-hmm. And so what's the color sensor for?
The color sensor for is to detect, if it detects red, it will go here and this will turn red and stop the chassis.
Mm-hmm.
If it's green, this will be green and you can just drive.
So the color sensor is going to come into effect when we roll out our field. So this is what the kids were building, and then in the design process, they have to come up with a way to move. You want to unroll that?
Yeah.
Please. They have their hazardous waste blocks. Now this is not the final field. We're going to add water and everything else to this. They're just practicing. So eventually it will become 5 blocks with water and everything they have to avoid. So they have their blocks, and with their team, what do they have to do, Fenton? Because you guys did this today, actually.
Yeah. You have to drive.
What did you add?
Well, we added these just to see what it was like, because you can't remove, once parts are on, you can't take them off. So we thought just to put some things on, because we didn't want to make it too complicated. So
yep. So they're going to time each other, and they're going to find the average to see if they can actually move the blocks into the collection zone down there. And then if they like it or not, they can add, and they can go into their revisions, and they can modify it, and then they can do it again. So this is the revision process is really important, and we have other ones that if anybody wants to try. You can try the driving skills. Mrs. Pelly said you wanted to try it. You can go ahead. Yep, you can show them.
Sorry if I didn't work.
Good job.
He's really good at driving. And then we talked too about like the block placement. If you put the blocks in different places, is that going to make your design change? Because it might just be easy to go right in one row or straight line. So then they're going to play with how do we want to change our course, where do we want to add the water, because in a real event you can't plan where these things are going to go. So we have a couple of other models too. If anybody wants to come up and try to drive them. This is Mally's going to try to drive.
All right.
Come on up, you got to try these. The kids made them. This is why we're
You
here.
can tell my gaming skills are not up to speed.
What number is it?
That's number
Which one?
5. You all have to. You see number 5? So you got to kind of move both.
Make it hard for her, Kenton.
And it's okay if you hit the red because it's great. It will show what the input device, the sensor will do. Oh, we didn't press it.
That's right.
Hold on, yep. There we go.
Oh, Fenton. Good stuff. right there. Sass pal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whack the back, yeah.
Oh, and red.
And so it stops, and then they'd have to pick it up, and they'd have to put it back.
Want to give it?
I'm actually quite nervous. I think. Which one do I press?
Depends on how-
So,
These two
so
simultaneously?
both forward to go, and this one is
Oh, it
to
turns,
turn
okay.
left and right.
Oh, this is a lot harder than it looks.
He made it look very easy.
So you're in place now, okay.
It's really hard. You want to try? Because it's really kind of cool. I think you should try it. I like the one that's like this. That one, yeah. Never came up with that.
Let me just show you guys one more. This is something that, we're not going to put this up to drive on it, but, oh, well, this makes it easy for Mary.
There you go.
This was,
I know.
Oh, Mary. Okay. There you go.
That's no Tesla, Mary.
Oh my God. That's really. How do you make it go forward?
oh, yeah,
Oh,
this is an example. Oh, you're doing great.
Oh my.
Of another one the kids will use. But you can see it's so different.
Oh gosh.
Oh, there you go. You got two. I know. I gotta go back and get
Very good. I want Mary on my team.
Oh, Steve. Yeah. I know.
I'm sorry.
Oh, for God's sake. Can I just sign out?
But you can see how the kids get really hooked in this, and then they want to make a change, but then they have to go back as a team and decide what wasn't working, what changes they're going to make, and then all agree and fill it out.
Karen, you want to bring this home?
So this is a little more advanced one.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is the entry point, but what it does is it challenges them to improve their design. So, yeah. Thank you very much. All right, roll that.
To improve their design of the vehicles?
Yep, of their, the vehicle, the actual modifications
Wasn't
they're
it?
making to the blocks. Like sometimes they might want to put a book on it if it's stuck in a corner, because if it's just in a straight line.
Oh, yeah, they're done?
Not well.
Seems impossible. That one seems impossible.
That was absolutely awesome.
That really is so cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Lucky
Fenton.
they get to do these things.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Fenton.
Good work, Fenton. Thank you.
Just a tremendous amount of thank you to the teachers. They have been amazing. As you recall, they went through 2 days of training over the summer. classroom teachers have been fabulous, and special education teachers in helping support this and go into the class with the teacher, because as you can imagine, there's just a lot going on, so it's not, something that one person can manage on their own. So the classroom teachers go in to assist, and it's just been a dance with the schedule and a lot of effort on multiple levels.
And something that we're lucky is that we get to see the kids every single day until we're done.
Right.
So we're with one classroom
Yes, that is
for 15, 17 days in a row, and then you go to your next group. So that we're lucky that we've been able to do that. Other schools, they might see the kids once every 5 days each homeroom,
Right.
so this is how,
Would you say that it's, were there any surprises with it? Were you surprised with how much the kids liked it? Was it greater than the interest? Because I mean, I could see them just.
Yeah, it's just so interactive. you know.
They absolutely love it. It's new, and I think just being in the cooperative groups has been one of the most challenging, and it's a growing experience for all of them, because it's real life. They have to work with people, but it's also new for all of us. So we're so excited, and we're not telling them what to do in every step. So to step back and watch them make those decisions and have to work together, that's exciting for us. And there's no wrong way of doing something, which is always new and fresh. So.
We have this going on in the junior.
That's awesome.
Oh, yes?
Oh, we do?
Junior high.
Junior high's doing
Okay,
it.
have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fenton.
My fifth and sixth graders have been coming home so excited about this program every time. It's
Great.
Especially the germ lab one.
Yes. I have like a scary.
Keep on talking about
Amy, what's the best soap? You didn't tell us. What's the best soap? Foam, liquid?
Oh, yeah.
Do we have
Well,
a
there's a
verdict?
lot of variables.
Okay.
The intensity. Liquid soap seems to be coming out the best.
Be the kid.
That was
Really good learning.
Just making sure there wasn't a kid's drink. Okay, entertaining motion, this is how we're running the agenda. To approve the minutes, actually, can we?
I have to.
She has to abstain, so we have to table this to January, if that's okay? Correct? If I'm not mistaken?
I think we can approve them, but it's best when people who actually were there. Yeah, I
You,
agree.
right?
I agree.
Well, I
Yep.
think she has to abstain. She doesn't know if we're accurate to it.
Right, exactly, yep.
Okay, so. You probably
watch the video.
Did you?
Yeah, she did.
Oh, so we
did. She might be the best.
You're the best. You're gonna get
I didn't even know
the
there
Rookie
was
of
a
the Year award.
And subscribe to the YouTube channel.
It's a thing. Why don't we talk about lunch prices?
Oh, boy. Well, let's just do the easy thing first, the finance report. Not that it's easy. I don't think much has changed in the last month. We're still plodding through. We know, and I think it's finally showing now, yes. We've known since day one that we had some significant issues in the out-of-district tuitions. So I feel confident that we're gonna get through this year without, a number of years ago, we had some major increases and we were quite alarmed and went to the town. I think we can get through this year between other lines in the budget. We had staff turnover after we set the budget, so we've got some places there that we've got some wiggle room, and we are using some of the prior balance on circuit breaker to get through the year. But it's just a reminder, when you open up your packets after Christmas, and we start talking in January about next year's budget, that is an area that's gonna have a huge bump in and significantly impact the budget. So, other than that, we're plugging along, nothing else has come up to be alarmed, so we'll put that as the positive. If you don't have any questions on the finance report, then yes, I'll segue right into my memo on the lunch prices.
The hot topic.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not quite as hot as I expected it would be this year. Because Burgess is actually the last of all 6 districts, the last elementary school for us to do this. We are recommending across the district that the elementary school prices increase from $2.75 to $3. The Tantascwa prices are going to increase from $3 to $3.25. I really was surprised when, last year, all 6 cafeteria revolving funds lost money. It is just, it's a nature of the beast, it's very hard to stay in the black, but then I realized, I lost track of the fact that we haven't increased lunch prices in 6 years. So it was June 2014 is the last time we did here. Now, I lost track of that because 3 years ago, we increased it at Tantascwa. And they were losing, we needed to do something, but it was the first time ever that we kind of had this aha moment and said, well, we actually have to put more food on the plates of secondary, what regulations require, which makes sense, they're all the kids. Why are we charging the same price? So Tantascwa went up 3 years ago, but they are going up again now. So that, that's one of the factors here. As you look, the last couple of years, Burgess's fund has been losing. Labor continues to go up, cost of food continues to go up. We all go, whether we go out to eat or we buy our groceries to cook at home, unfortunately, our bill is increasing. So the recommendation is A, to try and get us to stop the bleed, and have you not be at a point where you're using your educational budget dollars to supplement, because that's what would happen if that fund gets down to the red. And the other piece here is, as some of you have heard before, when we get audited, DESE will push us to increase because we have an obligation to charge at least as much, or we're supposed to charge at least as much as what we're getting for a free or reduced meal. So the government, pretty straightforward, if it's someone who qualifies for free, the government's giving us $3.53 for that meal.
And we're not charging. Yeah.
We are not.
Yeah.
The reduced, they pay 40 cents, and the government pays the small reimbursement of the 44. Actually, I don't even list it here, but the government pays everything but 40 cents for reduced. Paid, right now, you're only charging $2.75. We do get a little thing, even though, we call it paid. There's free, there's reduced, and there's paid, but the paid, we do get a small little tiny bit. We get the 44 cents per meal on a paid one. So as you can see, that's literally, that's 43 cents and 34 cents less than we get for a free meal. The government will come and audit and say, we'll give you the money for the free and reduced, but we don't want to be subsidizing those who should be fully paying for a meal. So when they come and do a review, they're going to be looking at that. This doesn't bring us all the way up, but we won't get our hands slapped as hard if we say, we're getting there. We'll look at it again in another two or 3 years, but bottom line is, if we don't increase at least something, that's going to be a penalty we get. Our full disclosure, I've never seen a penalty, nor have my peers gotten a penalty that actually took away money. That's what they always threaten to do. It's not happened, but it is the right thing to do.
Any changes with breakfast or no?
No, breakfast will stay the way it is. As long as, and we keep running the numbers to make sure that what we're buying is being covered by what we charge. So the bottom line here is the recommendation to increase lunches starting January 1st. We'll spend the rest of December getting the word out, to increase it to $3 and the adult lunches to $4.
So this will require a vote.
Yes.
So I will first entertain a motion to raise increase the price of school lunch from $2.75 to $3, effective January 1st.
So moved.
Second. Discussion on this. So we're last.
Yep, everyone else has voted it. We'll get the word out, kind of, a common word out across the district, so.
Did we ever consider just going to 325 to Masco High School? I know they get more food,
See?
but if we have to get to 350.
4 out of 5 of you. I put on my vest when I come and suggest
4 out of 5
increasing lunch
school committee
prices.
said the exact same
Yeah.
thing. Like, why aren't we going
If we're
up
going
even more?
district, and we have to get to 350.
Well,
And we
we
can just
haven't
say it's a
gotten,
district-wide thing, we're doing it at the high school, we're doing it here. 325.
It might be something in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's in one year, I recommended this because I thought we were gonna get resistance.
I almost feel like I'd rather do more now, because then it's gonna be like, again, when if we ask in a year, it's like,
in a couple years.
again.
Well, 6 years is kind of nuts. Honestly, I think it's reasonable in 3 years.
I mean, serving a nutritious meal
I-
to kids.
Full disclosure, I would actually rather have all 5 elementary
Right.
schools the same. And yours is, well, of the 5 elementary schools, all 5 lost money last year. 3 of the 5 have needed budget money to subsidize because they are in the red. Burgess is not in the red. We're just doing, we're not just doing, aside from trying to get to where the government says we should be. This should help make sure we stay in the black and you don't all of a sudden see a line in your budget that says lunch supplement, because that's what's happening in 3. So if the others went to the $3, I'd rather keep them all the same. We'll see how everybody ends the end of this year. And I mean, if we were gonna go up, I'd just go up another dime, and do, the 335, which is better than 334. With pennies a flying, but dimes a nickel. So I think this is reasonable, I think.
Some of our families, it's probably
Exactly.
important that we do it slowly and incrementally, because some folks, with multiple children in the house, it may actually have an adverse impact.
Yeah, there are some that struggle, which is why I was, let's at least show we're making effort. And take a look at what the utilization changes because of it, because it's very possible that changes enough that some people say, no, I can't do it anymore, and start sending in lunches. So we'll take a look at it.
We do have quite a few who just fall just at the threshold of free and reduced.
Yeah. But I appreciate
We do.
the question and the support. I did not anticipate I was going to get that from a number of committees, so I appreciate that they see it. Thank you.
To go into the well, like, I'm
Yes.
with Mary on that,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
but it's been 6 years. and
Exactly. I was surprised it had been.
I'm also
Yeah, right,
sensitive
yeah.
to the impact of other, impact on people, so.
Yeah.
So we have the motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you much, and that will do it for finance until the end of the night.
I seriously
It's cold. It is chilly.
Aaron always knows.
It's okay, I'm just telling you that.
No, don't bump it at this
Usually
point.
just make,
Yeah,
put your coat up.
For me?
Yes.
And, okay, so, Miss Kelly's report.
Yeah, we just have a
Where?
communication.
Oh, yeah, I thought I brought that up at the last, I had it at the last.
You
Elaine
did,
Burrell gave
um,
something.
we got the letter,
Oh,
so
okay. So
this
it's the
is just
official
a
letter.
recognition that we received it. I did, I know it was discussed here a little bit, I'm just looking for confirmation because I did check with the union, and Dan, and I think they are still interested in IBB. It was really successful
Great.
last time, so hopefully people are still interested in that. I also did reach out to Tim Fitzgerald, who did our facilitation last time. That went really well. I think both of our teams liked him, and he is available. He has some time in March that he's not, but he is still doing it. So there is a cost to that that we would likely need to split. It was about $1,800 last year because he's a facilitator who we had used when he was local, but he now lives in Pennsylvania. But we flew him up. But quite honestly, I think it was worth the price. He was really great.
So we talked a little bit about looking back at Lois if her availability is there and what the price reduce would be,
Sure.
and being a little bit more flexible.
Yep, we can do either of that, but
Okay.
because I thought he might be the hardest person to get because he is out of state, I just wanted to confirm that he was still interested. The other option for a facilitator would be Lois Mason. And she's not a trained facilitator. She is highly in demand. There are very few good facilitators in IBB, and I have people reach out to me and say, how are you able to get Lois Mason to do your IBB? And I said, well,
She lives in
she was the friends and family discount, and that she worked with us and was a colleague. So literally at the MASC conference, an attorney from a firm said, we're looking at IBB, how can, who do you use? And I said, we use Lois. Oh, how do you get her? So
I know her.
I know, yeah.
So,
I was her favorite
I'm kind of a
student.
big deal. That's what you should say to them.
Kind of a big deal.
so
We
either
haven't set
way,
our negotiations team yet.
I think Kristen,
I'm trained,
was
Kristen is
interested,
trained.
you're
Yeah.
trained.
Kristen is interested, and then we were talking about making one of them trained and ready to roll.
Yep.
If there, I think Mary was interested,
I
wasn't
said I would do it
How about this, if
That doesn't sound like
if
interested.
you go and help volunteer at the concert tomorrow, tell me.
you go.
Can't do it. No, I'm just kidding.
we could,
I won't
we
make anybody do
probably,
anything. It's actually great, I don't mind sitting on it.
we probably wouldn't do
work to do it till the spring anyways, I mean, that's fair to say, that's typically when we do it, so you have
I
time
think it's
to
great training. It
work
doesn't mean
on
that we
that.
can't go through the
You should-
training anyway, so we
If you're
should-
interested in
we
learning the
should. It's great.
process and the
Either way.
training,
training.
Yeah.
there would
I'm
be a
totally
review, which
joking. It's
I
a lot
think
my first year.
like an hour or hour and a half on the front end. And then we'd be able to go right into negotiations, but everybody would be welcome to the training, it's great. So, just wanted to kind of formalize that and let you know we were moving forward with
Sounds great.
confirmed IVB in that area.
Now that I've messed up the agenda, now the long-awaited principal's report.
Thank you. So
Busy times here.
enrollment is stable. We're at 894. However, since this report was written, we've had 3 students enrolled, so it's just awesome. Just want to send out a thank you to Lisa Munier, the Tri-Community Church Collaboration, and a number of Burgess staff members for helping to provide 50 Burgess families with Thanksgiving dinners this year. There was definitely a big need this year. And the Burgess staff, once again, participated in the Festival of Giving Trees, and just a big thanks to Tammy Edmonds and her team for organizing that annual community service event. Parent-teacher conferences were held last month, the 12th and the 14th. Once again, one of my favorite nights of the year. It's just great to see everybody. Report cards were to be issued tomorrow, but with the 2 snow days coming on the heels of Thanksgiving and printing report cards at Burgess is a mammoth task. They will be actually being distributed on Monday. Staff professional development, we had the early release on the 4th. Preschool teachers did some training with their curriculum, and kindergarten through grade 6 focused on writing and the new science programs. You will see lots of great updates from all of the grade levels. You can peruse those at your leisure. And just a couple of things of note of up and coming events. The Comfort Zone, which is being hosted at the high school on Saturday, starts at, I believe, 9 o'clock. Just a very good program for folks who have suffered loss, sustained loss, and they work really well with the children and the adults. And as Kate alluded to, concerts start tomorrow. Our first grade concert, which is our largest attended concert, and I am a little concerned about parking, so we actually have secured shuttle service. So we will be working closely with law enforcement and making sure that everybody parks on the Cedar Street side parking, and then we will be rerouting people to OSB for shuttle service after that.
And that'll be the same for all of them?
No, it's just, first grade is truly my only big
Yeah.
concern. Depending upon how much melt we get over the weekend, I do have Wendy on standby for Monday for grade 2, because again, it's still highly attended at that level. If it looks like we're still down a number of parking spaces, we'll offer the shuttle service, and I'll notify parents of that. as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the? All right, we are moving on. Dr. Moser.
Alrighty, I did include, this topic came up in October, I did include the commissioner's memo relating to alternative structured learning day programs, known in common nomenclature as blizzard bags. So this was just the memo, which really explains why they're not doing it, and I know Kristen had said she had heard of it, and there were a number of districts that had worked. The state's allowing any of those previously approved districts to finish out this year because they just notified us this summer, but they'll clearly, the program is going away for lots of reasons. Yeah, I actually had an inquiry from someone at the Telegram and Gazette, just kind of looking for any local impact to school with the change. I think that inquiry probably came on the heels of 2 snow days, so they were kind of seeing how people's reaction were, so I just responded, we had never had them, so there would be no impact to how we do business. But that was just a follow-up to that October request. And then you should have received electronically the annual report from the collaborative. We sent it on the 19th, so if you haven't gotten it, check your spam folder. Because hopefully we sent it off. Wanted to update you, we talked a little bit about the Student Opportunity Act as well back in October on whether it would be signed or not. That's looking to implement the Foundation Budget Review Commission. All the recommendations around fully funding the true cost of educating children in each of the districts. It was passed through the House and Senate and signed by the governor. We are awaiting all sorts of direction from the state with regard to what the process will be. The legislation had the full implementation taking 7 years. Obviously, it will have financial impact, but we're still waiting on guidance. With this money will come required action plans on behalf of all of our districts related to closing the achievement gap, targeting specific areas and maybe subgroups that we need to pay attention to regarding achievement. I think we do a really good job at using our data constantly to know, so, but it will be another document and plan that we're going to have to submit, so, but.
Another plan to submit.
Oh, yes, 6 times, 6 different plans. But we should see a little bit more funding, we hope, next year, exactly what it looks like.
I mean, if our enrollment can, hold steady, we should, because Sturbridge was, the problem is across the state, there's a good amount of false sense of security, because anyone who was in hold harmless, this formula could very well just actually bring them up to where they legitimately are getting funding, as opposed to those who have been overfunded and still kept getting the $30 more per student every year, when in reality the formula says you should lose money. Nobody's ever lost money. So in some communities, it's actually just going to mean what you get is actually legit instead of hold harmless. But Sturbridge, just like a couple of years ago, I think hit that kind of even break, and now it's really going to be a factor of enrollment. So if our enrollment holds, we'll be fine. And then some of the categories where they're looking at additional money, like transportation for circuit breaker, that's not a Chapter 70 issue, that's a circuit breaker issue, so that should be good. I mean, Lord knows we've spent a whole lot of money in special ed, that if we can get a little bit of that reimbursed, would be really nice. It's a question of, we just don't know how they're going to implement this thing. They got 7 years to do it. They could take every item and do it incrementally over 7 years, or they could pick one to do for a few years and not touch the other ones until year 6 or 7. So, whole lot to be continued, but hopefully the governor's budget will give us our first peek at the end of January and see what the plan is.
Great, and just the last thing, these are the college admissions and acceptances to follow up with Northwest from November.
Fingers aren't working, sorry guys.
Just to remind you that there were 2 columns here. The first is accepted, so we had students that were accepted, and then that right column is the number of children that were emerging adults. I'm told by my son that's what they're called, they're not children. Emerging adults. So this will be where the emerging adults
Actually
are going. Mom, you can't tell me I'm an emerging adult. I said, okay. Is this what I'm paying for? That can be sassy to me. So a really nice representation. As usual, our kids get into great colleges. They're well prepared from K all the way up to grade 12. So that is what I have, and I appreciate everyone's flexibility around the weather. Not much we can do about it. It's very unusual for us to actually have a snow day in December, but
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Major decision.
Second thing.
Nicer to
That was worse.
She went
It
roads
was
to an
worse.
inch for
Tuesday was
that.
so much worse.
Oh, yeah.
I understand.
That one was crazy.
When I woke up. I got the, I got the
Right,
fall. and
the
I
6
looked up-
inches of
I was
dusting,
like,
right, you know.
really? And I looked outside, I was like, oh, this is actually much worse than
Yeah,
yesterday.
the first
roads are
time,
horrible.
yep.
Yeah, it was rough, it was really, we had held off, I talked to the DPW that night, and they said, you might not even need a delay if it's slushy roads to 2,
Yeah.
and it stops by 3 AM like they're saying. But when I
12
talked to them,
p.m.
when I talked to them at 4, my husband going all night.
Yes, I did.
Nobody
Won't stop.
Yeah, else, that's crazy. So, but we made
Good
it.
call.
I was thinking of you, making I know, those me calls. too. It's like poor Erin, least favorite.
She hated me.
It's terrible.
And you don't sleep, right? I don't have nearly the responsibility that you do, but even like delaying opening my bank, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What if I make the wrong decision? What if,
Yeah, it's never easy,
So I don't
but,
forget.
Someone
so.
will be happy.
I didn't hear a peep. Those roads were
No.
really bad.
They were really bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
We're to public access 1. We are good on to subcommittee reports. Right to Tantascwa. Have we had a meeting since we talked about the goal setting committee? Yeah, actually I talked about that last month, sorry. So Tantascwa.
So, kind of uneventful. High school's, they're getting a couple things from the Booster Club, 2-way radios and a new golf cart, which now can transport an injured
Oh, like with the thing?
athlete on the back. Whereas in the past, I guess they couldn't.
I think we could, it's just old, so I think it has
It was
become.
dangerous, okay.
Dangerous, yeah.
They could fall out.
Take your chances, take your chances walking.
Yes.
I got it. We also had the presentation on MCAS at Tantascwa, which if anybody wants to see, I happen to have it with me, because I brought the wrong packet here. So, as luck would have, you know, whatever. And then we went through quite a few policies, just, you know, bylaw and policies, subcommittees, just going through all of them as just housekeeping, just updating and reviewing. So, a couple of rescissions, a couple of amended, but that's about it.
Okay. And then, any old business? At new business, why don't I break it into 3 groups? We'll need a motion.
And if you want, I
Want
can
me to
take a
just-
couple minutes and review each one and just let you know what they are, and then you can decide if you want to do them in subgroups or all together. I could make Mary do it because, as she just said, she is on
Fair.
the glorious bylaw
I didn't admit to being on it.
subcommittee.
Can't say that at
So,
all.
sorry. They meet monthly, and we've literally started with AAA and are trying to plug through and look at some policies that haven't been
Good to see you
reviewed
today.
since
Good to see you this
2005.
morning.
We just
Yeah.
met today, right, so it's twice we see Mary in one day. I actually do believe these here that we're gonna review on first reading are what Tantascwa voted and accepted on second reading at that last meeting. So we usually wait until they've gone through it and it's been fairly cleansed by the time we bring it to you, but every now and then there's little things that we miss. So I'll go policy by policy and just let you know what we're doing. Most of these are housekeeping. So the school attorney, again, is just housekeeping, changing the he, she's to theys, cleaning up a little bit of district stuff, and that first paragraph just saying, we have a town council, but on occasion, things get complicated, and we might get specialists, which is what we've been doing for years. The executive session is, again, just housekeeping, a little bit of there, and per MASC's updates, changing the word charges to allegations, and adding one more section at the end that, another item that is qualified for going into executive session, because as you all know, you can't just go into executive session because you feel like it. You've got to meet one of these legal criteria to go in, otherwise you are an open meeting. The notification of school committee meetings is really just clarifying the 48 hours notice excludes Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. It always has, this is just clarifying that and making that a little clearer than has been done in the past. Public participation at meetings, this actually comes as a result of a legal case out in Natick, I think, where they had some issues with public coming and wanted to try and, for lack of a better word, contain the public comments, and the legal opinions were, you can't. Public gets to come, but what we can do is make it clear that their comments, if they're coming to the school committee, what they're talking to about needs to be in the school committee's purview.
Jurisdiction.
And so therefore, we can take a look at making sure that that's what we're stating. We cannot judge or say, especially number 4 was the big legal, they said, you can't point blank just say that somebody being abusive or defamatory is not allowed. If you have a policy that allows public to speak, you need to allow public to speak.
Yeah, and defining defamatory or abusive.
It becomes,
So vague.
yeah, who's gonna make that?
Right.
So,
It's, when I read through this, they're allowed 3 minutes to present their material, but what it doesn't, it talks about, number 7, that they can, written comments longer than 3 minutes can be presented, but it doesn't, like you think about town meeting, how many different sessions of 3 minutes are they afforded, and like, we haven't had any issues with this, so
Right.
obviously it's not like you would without the timer here, but back in the day, we've been to, I think anybody at this table, we've had it when this room is completely full and it was getting to the point where, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and we're needing to do that, but I don't see in the policy where it says how many 3 minute, it just says 3 minute, and then I guess at the discretion, you just go with it.
right, and then, so, and again, there's a lot of mays in here.
Yeah.
So it's up to the chair to decide whether the
May
3
permit
minute gets
extension,
extended,
yeah.
or whether they want to, allow something else. But short of the chair saying, okay, I'm gonna let you talk longer, 3 minutes is 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Each person gets 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then is it the last? No, it's not quite the
This
last.
is the last amended upon first reading, IHBG.
The homeschooling, for some reason, this one just didn't have the red. You can see the bolded.
Yep.
This is really about adding and fleshing out a little bit more what the superintendent has a right to ask for in making determinations that it's an appropriate plan and being executed. The next 2 pages are in here just to show you the form. They wouldn't be part of the policy, but we would also just update the form, the application form to include some of those. But this is really just about that bolded section under 4, saying the superintendent indeed can ask for some additional assessment information.
And this is matching practice too. This is what we always do.
Yep. And then finally, the last 2 documents look very much the same. We're looking to rescind the last one, IJNDB, which used to be simply called Electronic Acceptable Network Use Policy, and is now, the whole policy, new title is Access to Digital Resources. The first 2 pages are pretty much a summary that are being added to, just put on top of what the document used to be, with a couple of small tweaks, such as this document used to say, one key one that I stick out is under emails. The old one said email for student uses in elementary and junior high is not provided. That just simply is not true. So there's a few things that were updated. So we just, MASC also, their main digital policy is IJND. So we want to take this IJND, put it on the books, and then get rid of the old one. So you folks can choose to
Okay,
vote
why don't
as
we
you wish.
let's take, I'm entertaining a motion to approve upon amended first reading policy BDG, policy BEC, policy BEDA, policy BEDH, and policy IHBG.
So,
Any discussion on those 5 policies? All in favor? Okay. And then entertaining a motion to accept upon first reading IJND.
so moved.
Second. Any questions, discussion? All in favor? And then now we can rescind IJ and DB, the motion,
So moved.
and all in favor.
Thank you much.
And we thank Mrs. Veleza for her service on the policy and bylaw committee.
I was gonna say it's her favorite day of the month, but now tomorrow she gets to come in.
Well, maybe.
You do learn a lot on policy.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
I do love it, actually.
And there's a flow going on there, it's a good group, it's
Yeah.
good stuff, yeah.
All right, we're at public access too. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Okay. See you
Okay,
next
well, I
year.
hand you each your annual.
Wow, that's nice.
I know, doesn't it? See you next year.
Karen,
Oh,
were
I'll
you
see
here
what one.
before? No, you just came on in April.
Oh, it's a rule, don't open it.